President of Wealth Quarterback LLC, a registered investment advisory firm located in New Jersey. Registration is not an endorsement of the firm or its representatives by securities regulators, nor is it an indication that the advisor has attained a particular level of skill or ability. Investment advisory services may only be provided to clients in jurisdictions in which the firm and its representatives are appropriately registered or exempt from registration. You should not assume that any discussion or information contained in this broadcast serves as the receipt of or as a substitute for personalized investment advice from the advisor. Different types of investments involve varying degrees of risk, and there can be no assurance that the future performance of any specific investment, investment strategy, or product, or any non-investment related content made reference to directly or indirectly in this broadcast will be profitable, equal any corresponding indicated historical performance level or levels, be suitable for your portfolio or individual situation, or prove successful. Past performance is not indicative of future results. Investment advisory services offered through Wealth Quarterback LLC. Tired of losing money in the stock market roller coaster? Frustrated with the government taxing you into oblivion? Worried about inflation? How do you prepare for so many financial uncertainties? Welcome to the show that will help you develop your game plan. The Financial Quarterback with Josh Jalinski. Josh is a noted financial advisor and president of the Jalinski Advisory Group, and he's here to answer your questions. Call into the show at 800-321-0710. 800-321-0710. Now, let's kick off your financial future. Here's Josh Jalinski.
This is Josh Jalinski, the Financial Quarterback, coming to you live. We're taking your calls all hour at 800-321-0710. If you have questions on stocks, bonds, annuities, mutual funds, whatever question you ask, no question is a dumb one except the one that you do not ask. Now, taxpayers can avoid a very nasty surprise by making quarterly payments by September 15th, which was just a few days ago. Did you do it? And then the limits of spousal protection, and taxpayers have just a few weeks left to claim their share of a $1.2 billion in IRS fee refunds. Here's how to take advantage. So we got a lot to talk about, but this is an open line edition of the broadcast at 800-321-0710. So if you have questions on stocks, bonds, annuities, mutual funds, whatever question you have, no question is a dumb one except the one that you do not ask. So the Treasury 5 to 30 yield curve inverted by the most since 2000, and the Great Reset September 2022 updates. And we'll talk about 1 in 4 adults in the U.S. live with disability. Having a financial plan to address care is critical. And Gunlock urges the Fed to slow rate hikes as Summers prefers a 1% jump. I'll tell you right now, if the Fed listens to Larry Summers, there will be doom to come in the stock market. Larry Summers, you know, hey, respect his service, but he's a washed up has-been, folks. Let's be honest here. You know, he was a Harvard president, then he was a Treasury secretary, great pedigree, but what is he doing? He will have no consequence. Yeah, they should have raised rates a long time ago, but if they raise rates more now, the stock market may crash even further. So, folks, give us a call, 800-321-0710, shortly before the release of mixed U.S. economic data. This from FA Mag, Financial Advisor Magazine. The 5-year note, so you could tie your money up with the government for 5 years and they'll give you 3.68%. That is the highest since 2008 and 20 basis points higher than the 30-year bond yields at the time. The curve had inverted by 18.5 basis points on June the 14th, previously the most since 2000. In a sell-off unleashed by worse than expected inflation data this week that replaced expectations for how much the Fed was likely to raise its policy rate. The yield curve is flattening, has been driven by hawkish central bank rhetoric supported by stronger than expected CPI and resiliency in other growth data. Basically, the news of this week is inflation is running hot. David Ranson has been right. So what that means is if inflation remains high, the Fed is going to have to increase rates, which could stall the stock market because the stock market has been fueled for years on the backs of ultra low interest rates. So think a 30-year mortgage used to be 2.5% 2 years ago. Now it's as much as 6%. That could have devastating effects on the economy, from anything from real estate prices to the value of your 401k. So with all this talk about yield curve inversion, it's kind of confusing for most people, but it's not good for the economy. So this week's survey, something called the MLive Pulse Survey, is focused on the best trades ahead of the FOMC meeting. The survey is brief, and this is how it goes. The August CPI data led the market to fully price in another 3/4 point rate hike on September 21. So the effect of why did the market crash this past week? Well, people think the rate hikes may be bigger than 0.75. If we had just 0.75, markets would go ho-hum, business as usual. But with the new CPI data, inflation is hot. Any idiot would tell you that. I mean, these economists think they're all smart. Go to the grocery store. You're a moron. I mean, it's like they've been trying to tell us for the last, since November of 2020, that all of this money printing that we've done would not have this effect. They've brought out Joe Biden, Kamala Harris. The only one who maybe differed was David Ranson on our show and Larry Summers. I'll give him that kudo. But you know what? The reason why I say don't listen to Larry Summers is we are already seeing the economy slow. That will take 6 months, a year to maybe show up in the CPI data. We don't need to crash it further. And just wait, they may. Many of the last great crashes, 2000 and 2002, 2007 and 2009, were started because of Fed hubris. Folks, I think we should just end the Fed right now. Like, what is the good of these people? Call me if you agree or disagree. 800-321-0710. 800-321-0710. And call us if you have a question. We have open lines. Some shows are canned. You try to call the other people. Hello, Altoona, go ahead. And you're not going to get anybody. And all they do is make canned, scripted calls to make the host look good or sound good. I just sound this good. I know this from the top of my head. Right, Jim?
That's correct.
I don't pull it out of my, Okay, so let's go. 800-321-0710. Where is everybody? We don't do a canned show because we love our listeners. Now, I'll tell you what. I got a couple personal finance stories. We got a lot of macroeconomic news, but basically it's bad, right? It's you get tired of reading this stuff, but it's always darkest before the dawn. So maybe we have some glimmers of hope. But here's the thing. If you're looking at your portfolio and you're not getting any hope, I'm here to give you some today as we talk about protection, savings, and growth. Now, we'll tell you good news. I'll give you some good news. Fixed rates are up. I have not seen fixed annuity rates this high, CD rates this high, money market rates this high in a while. You could get money market funds now paying like, 2.2%. It's not bad. You get fixed annuities paying like 4%. So if you have money tied up in the bank and you don't know what to do with it and it's earning 0 and you're scared about the economy, this interest rate hike is actually good for you as a senior. It's not good for the macro economy, but it may be good for you in the micro economy. So call us 800-321-0710 if you have a listener call line, or call my office right now at 888-988-JOSH. So market forecasts for the future path of the policy rate also reset to higher levels, where the anticipated peak in March surpassing 4.25%. In U.S. trading Thursday, it increased to about 4.45%. And up next, I'm going to give you another glimmer of hope. There was surprisingly positive economic data that I'll reveal after this first break of the hour. And folks, if you are confused about your portfolio, call us for the 27-point What Do I Do in the Great Reset review. Bill Gates wants you to eat soy burgers. Not a real man. I like real beef. Don't you, Jim?
I love beef.
Real beef has carnitine. Real beef has iron. You need that stuff to live. You don't need those gross soy burgers. But you know what? In the Great Reset, they want you to eat soy. They want you to live in a 10 by 10 apartment. They want you to be controlled by the internet. You know what? Just be yourselves. Be advocates of freedom. But you know what? Tune out the financial noise and get your financial plan reviewed. Call us at 888-988-JOSH, 888-988-5674. We'll be back after these messages.
Tune in to the financial quarterback Josh Jalinski this weekend and learn how to protect your financial future in a down economy. Josh and his team at the Jalinski Advisory Group can help you lower your taxes and lower your risk in these uncertain times with a 27-point checklist designed to improve your financial health. Whether you're worried about runaway prices, fear of an upcoming recession, or a stock market meltdown, tune in to the financial quarterback and count on Josh Jalinski to call the play. For a free copy of Josh's book, The Retirement Reality Check, call 888-988-5674. That's 888-988-5674. Or visit Jalinski.org. That's JALINSKI.org. Maybe it seems like prices can't get much higher, or that the stock market is headed for bear territory. Or maybe you're worried about another great recession. Josh Jalinski, the financial quarterback, can help you protect your family's financial future in times like these. Tune in this weekend to the financial quarterback to hear how Josh and his team can help you decrease your tax liability and lower your risk. Call 888-988-5674 to take advantage of Josh's 27-point plan to achieve financial health. And when you call, you'll receive a free copy of Josh's book, Retirement Reality Check. Tune in every weekend to the financial quarterback and call 888-988-5674 to receive your free copy of Retirement Reality Check.
Okay, we're back taking your calls. The Great Reset and your money. You know, Klaus Schwab and all of these other losers want you to eat soy. They want you to do all of these horrible things. We want you to be educated on your money. So, and don't make any mistake about this. This whole soy movement, the movement away from red meat, that's all about having men grow estrogen so they can't fight the government. Did you know that? If you eat soy burgers, Jim, your estrogen grows and you'll lose your ability to fight the government and be a freedom fighter. So they want you to become a soy burger eating guy, and actually soy grows man boobs and all of these other horrible things. Oh my goodness. Yeah, but what does that have to do with your money? Well, it's the Great Reset. Everywhere you see, whether it's in academia to even finance. So you turn on CNBC and you listen to these people. You know what? Larry Summers was his Secretary of the Treasury person for the last so many years. He was part of the idiots who got us into this mess. It's like, and now we're going to listen to this guy to save us. It's because we need institutional trust, and that institutional trust is dying away. The Great Reset, the point in time when we rationalize the debt in the U.S. and in most of the developed world. According to CMG, U.S.-China, the declining power, rising power conflict is between Western democratic ideology and top-down autocratic rule. I'll tell you what, though, we've had a lot of top-down autocratic rule, i.e. COVID lockdowns in the U.S. Since the early 80s, inflation and interest rates in the U.S. have been on a long decline towards 0%. Inflation went from the high teens in the early 80s to near 0%, with the Fed struggling to get it to 2%. Interest rates declined from 15% to near zero. Stocks and bonds benefited. China became a global business partner and became a low-cost manufacturer to the world. The Cold War ended in the late 1990s, shortly after President Reagan encouraged Gorbachev to tear down that wall. There was mostly peace between the world powers. For much of the last 40 years, we've had declining interest rates and low inflation. Debt levels were low, and now they are high. We've had broad access to natural resources. Technology proved to be a massive deflationary force. The East produced low-cost goods, and the West consumed them. Next up, we have Anthony. Go ahead. You're on with Josh Jalinski, the financial quarterback.
Hey. Hello?
Hi, go ahead.
Oh, hi, Josh. My name's Anthony, Brewster, New York. Just a question. I am so nervous with the current situation regarding like inflation. I'm an exterminator. I mean, the prices of gas killing me. Prices of my chemicals, supplies killing me. But when I look at my IRA, it's kind of like stagnant. I'm scared as all heck to put it into the stock market, especially like what happened on Monday. Personally, I have some I bonds. But I can't put those I bonds into the IRA. So I just want to know: is there anything that I could possibly do to be on the conservative side, but to protect from inflation?
Well, there are many things, and sticking your money under the mattress is not one of them. So what can you do that's principal protected right now from the stock market meltdown, from the whims of the Fed? What can you do right now that protects you from the market, protects you from inflation? Well, nothing is perfect, but I'm going to give you a little rubric, if you will, word picture. And the word picture is men are from Mars and women are from Venus. They're investment from Mars, investment from Venus. You ever hear this, Jim? Yeah. Ever hear me do this? Or you could do red, yellow, green. So I want you to take a paper, big sheet of paper, and draw 3 circles. What light goes on top? Diagram. Red, yellow, or green on a stoplight? Right. Which one? Red goes on top. Okay, so red goes on top. That is the money that you are willing to lose in the market, stocks and ETFs. Over a 10, 20-year period of time, that money should be growing for you. That will be one of your ways to hedge against inflation, but over 10 years. So you could buy gas companies, oil companies, energy companies companies that are going to be able to pass their consumer prices to their investors without you canceling. Think, if your gas, New Jersey just hiked their gas prices 24% with an approval from the Board of Public Utilities. So you know what? That stock might benefit. So there are different companies that you could look for there. Now, those are not principal protected, but they may help you against inflation. There are about 4 or 5 other what I would call red type assets. I also use the planet analogy, Venus. It's closer to the sun, so you might get burned. Venus is more volatile, but you can make more money. You could lose 20%, you could make 20%. But try to find stocks in your portfolio, ETFs, that would do well in this inflationary environment. David Ranson, who, by the way, we have many different guests. He was one of the only ones who called this correctly. And he was laughed at. He was mocked. And he was right. So you heard it here first. He prophesied long, persistent inflation 2 years ago on the show. He was a great find and really a gem of a guest. He has a portfolio called the Star Portfolio, which I'll show you what that is if you call us at 888-988-JOSH for the review. So you would have red assets like a red light. Then you would have yellow assets. Too many of you have red assets, meaning you have a bunch of different things that have no purpose because you're diversified. Well, you know what? That's wrong. And I'm going to give you some other wrong advice that the talking heads do when we talk further. So, folks, red assets are assets from Venus. They are more volatile. Does that make sense, Jim?
Yes.
You're the man on the street. Then you have green assets. Green assets are your safe money solutions. Could be a money market at the bank, it's 2%. A lot of you are still stuck at 0. I want you to call your bank today and say, guy in the radio said I could get 2% on my money markets. I want that now. Or 1.5% or whatever. Look at your checking account, Jim. You know what you're going to see? 0.01. But they know they have you. So you're convenient. So I'm going to go to my bank on Monday, say I'm pulling my money out if you don't give me a competitive interest rate. But they know all your bills flow through it. It's just very difficult to do that. But what you could do is keep your auto pay the same, but get an internet bank account, a high yield savings account. And sometimes they will work with your bank. So you could have them move large chunks of money. So if you have 50 grand in the bank and you need 10 grand for revolving costs, 3 grand for revolving costs, 4 grand, you keep your revolving costs there and then you move the bulk to an HYSA. So that's green. Also in the green category would be 2-year treasuries, paying about 3.7% right now. Fixed annuities. I looked at a 7-year fixed annuity paying 4.4, 5-year paying 4 point something. That's silver lining. I said in the last break, there are silver linings. That is a silver lining in all of this. So green money would be like money from Mars in that it's furthest from the sun, so you are least likely to get burned. Green light means go. You said, I got all this money, I don't know what to do with it. I'm worried about inflation. Well, you know what's worse than inflation? Losing money to the market. So a lot of the times people have said, talking heads, you need to be in stocks to beat inflation. Not always. Not the last 9 months. Depends what stocks, right? Insurance company stocks were a bright spot. I'll give you silver linings. Insurance companies, energy companies, utilities, those have been silver linings in this. Why? Because your car insurance can increase your rate by 10%. You're not going to cancel because you need car insurance. You need home insurance. You need business insurance. You need workman's comp. So look for companies in those sectors. As some pundits say, there's always a bull market somewhere. And we're looking for that at my firm, Wealth Quarterback, a fee-based fiduciary. So call us. If you want a second opinion on your wealth, you know what? If the doc said, hey, you had cancer, you'd get a health second opinion. Now it's time to get a wealth second opinion, because the financial cancer that may be lurking under your portfolio may consist of fees, taxes, and risk. So call us 888-988-JOSH for that review, or call me now 800-321-0710. And another silver lining, since we're talking about silver linings, I got this text from my friend the other day, and my friend said that yesterday was particularly bad. He thought yesterday was the bottom. So the bottom is in. Everybody has their, things that they tell you. We don't know if they're true or not, but from TED Talks Macro. I don't know. Who is TED Talks Macro? The guy could be living in his basement with his mother, but whatever. In the U.S., $109 million worth of options contracts worth $3.2 trillion expired today. So what that means is that may be one of the causes of the little crash we've had the last 3 weeks. So give us a call, 800-321-0710 if you have a financial question, 800-321-0710. Now, Myrna is saying, good morning, Josh. You are coming across quite angry and so anti-soy. Well, I like my steak, and you should too, Myrna. I don't want to grow, anyway, mammaries. I don't know. But anyway, Myrna, are you pro-soy? Like, what does soy do? Tastes disgusting, and it emasculates the population. But hey, if you want soy, they've actually seen a link in soy. But what do you think they're doing with all this farmland they're buying up? But anyway, we won't talk about that. So give us a call, folks, 800-321-0710. And we wonder why we have inflation. When billionaires buy up a lot of the farmland in the U.S. so that they can pretend they are a rancher on holiday, they're not raising enough cattle for beef. They're not doing it. That's another reason we have rampant inflation. If I were president, my number one executive order would be, hey, Bezos, Gates, if you want to buy millions of acres of farmland, fine, but you have to allow farmers and ranchers to farm that land for food production. I'm Josh Jalinski, the financial quarterback, and I approve of this message. Give us a call, 888-988-JOSH. We'll be back after these messages.
Tune in to the financial quarterback Josh Jalinski this weekend and learn how to protect your financial future in a down economy. Josh and his team at the Jalinski Advisory Group can help you lower your taxes and lower your risk in these uncertain times with a 27-point checklist designed to improve your financial health. Whether you're worried about runaway prices, fear of an upcoming recession, or a stock market meltdown, tune in to the financial quarterback and count on Josh Jalinski to call the play. For a free copy of Josh's book, The Retirement Reality Check, call 888-988-5674. That's 888-988-5674. Or visit Jalinski.org. That's JALINSKI.org.
Hey, we're back. Am I anti-vegetarian? No, but I'm married to one. Here's my thing with vegetarians. I think many of them are really meat eaters in closet secrecy. Most vegetarians eat cheese. Cheese is a byproduct of what? The cow. So you're not really a vegetarian. Most vegetarians eat fish or seafood. So you're really a pescatarian who likes cheese. So you eat fish and eat milk and you say you're a vegetarian. Now, mind you, I love vegetarians. I'm married to one. But she eats fish and she eats cheese. So, and the majority of them, if you're a purist, no dairy, no fish, they've actually done studies that you're deficient in many nutrients like iron, like carnitine. There are many things that I'm not a carnivore, by the way. I've seen these people online. They're idiots. I think vegetables are good for you. Eat a lot of them. You should have 90% probably vegetables, and meat should be a delicacy or part of your meal. But your base should be vegetables. I'm all for that. But I'm just having fun with our vegetarian listeners. So, folks, give us a call, 800-321-0710. But here's the thing. We wonder why there's inflation. Well, when you don't produce on farmland, who the heck's eating the Impossible Burger? I've tried that. It's gross. I thought I was being healthy I ate, what's that other burger? It's like the Impossible, the Just Meat, or the Beyond Meat.
Beyond Meat.
Then you look at all the products and the byproducts. I'm not eating all those chemicals. Forget it. Just eat some beef, Grass-fed beef, organic grass-fed beef is great.
Worked for thousands of years.
Nothing wrong. Worked for thousands of years. You know who's living to 95? It's not your uncle or aunt who's 60 or 70. It's the meat eaters. We have this grandmother in our family. She's pushing 90-something. She ate real butter. She ate real beef. She didn't eat fake butter. She didn't fake beef. They had moderation. They had moderation. They ate their vegetables, They had some starch. They really did what's more of the macros. You have some starches. You have some. Now, why do I care? Why do I care about this? Because this is all a part of the same one world government coup to diminish our freedom, and that goes with freedom in the pocket. Why does Google how much, Alex, our intern, Google how much land Bezos owns, how much land Gates owns. Why do these men who never farmed a day in their life have to have 402,000 acres in Montana? Could it be because if you owned Amazon, now you're going to create a steak company, Amazon Steaks, and we're going to charge, or even Costco. It's a part of this corporate, state that we're in. But anyway, how many millions of acres or thousands of acres do we know? Gates owns a bunch. And here's the thing, where do you go? You go to Google. Google's all part of the one, the Great Reset too. But anyway, China is in deep trouble. Europe is a mess. I mentioned a silver lining. The silver lining was options contract expired yesterday. What that means is some of the crash we've had the last week is due to that. So we could have a bounce back, a very strong bounce back this week in the stock market. Don't think this is totally over, but positive news for you. So Jim, did you find out?
I just teamed it.
Okay, Gates owns 270,000 of farmland. That's what we know. A lot of I've heard 270,000, but the thing is, that's what we know. Much of what they buy is through trusts, LLCs, so you can't determine the ownership, but that's what is publicly available. And you'll never get the public, the real number.
Bezos, 420.
420,000 acres of farmland. What is that guy doing? Last time I saw, he had pictures of himself, with his beautiful wife on some yacht. That's what I saw. It's like when I saw Zuckerberg last time he was on vacation, he bought half of the North Shore of Kauai. So these people are just buying up land, and we're okay with it. So give us a call, 888-988-JOSH, 888-988-JOSH. So interesting story the other day. I was talking to a pastor, and the pastor said, Josh, I went to the Dave Ramsey Financial Peace University. And I have a horror story for you folks. What happened to this man? He went to the 12-step program for alcoholics, 12-step program for spendaholics. I'm sure 7 of the 12 steps are really good. Have you done this at your church, Jim?
They have it there.
Did you go through it?
No.
Why didn't you go through it? Go through it.
For you.
Yeah, but you gotta go through it to see what the enemy is teaching. However, I met Dave Ramsey once because we were on the same station. He was a nice guy. Nothing against him personally. I think where you could learn, Jim, he's good at not buying stupid stuff, getting out of debt, cut your credit cards. If you're living paycheck to paycheck, don't buy a jacuzzi. A lot of good sound tips that to me are common sense and would be defined by the old envelope method. You remember that, Jim?
Yes.
That's a straight from your Italian grandmother, right? You stuff the cash. Burkett, yeah, Larry Burkett. But I don't know. I knew it from, people in the neighborhood, And they would have the cash in their envelopes for various things. Larry Burkett. Basically, what's good in Dave Ramsey is old Larry Burkett. People don't realize this. 30 years ago, if you are struggling financially, number one tip is to get on the envelope method. So if you make, let's say, $5,000 a month and you're spending $6,000 a month because of inflation, don't use a credit card. Don't use a debit card unless you have to. You need one to establish credit. By the way, I followed that till I was like 21, couldn't buy a house because I had no credit history. I ended up buying a house 21 through some, I used my wife's credit, who had a credit card history established by her father. So you want to establish credit history. That's an important piece of financial literacy that a lot of these people don't talk about. But if you're struggling, use the envelope method. So let's say you make $5,000 a month and your food budget is $1,500. You literally go to the bank and you sock away cash in your envelope. And then you'll see that as you release the cash, something happens psychologically. You don't want to spend as much. When you just swipe it, you don't have any gauge. It's sort of like calorie counting if you're on a diet. So I'm all for old school thrift and debt relief. And that's probably where I would agree with Ramsey. My critique is his jihad, and I would say it's a holy war against life insurance. So here's the thing. My father had his first heart attack at 40. And he went to one of these church things. I don't know if it was A.L. Williams or Primerica or, but Ramsey is really the intellectual progeny of the people before him. And the theory was if you have no money, buy term insurance, right? Because when you're poor and you're living paycheck to paycheck, you shouldn't have whole life. I agree with that to a point. Meaning if you're living paycheck to paycheck, you need to protect your family. So if you only have limited dollars, get term insurance of $1 million, $500,000 to protect your family. You need 10 times your salary in the form of a death benefit at a minimum. So we'll take our break and then I'll talk more about the Holy Jihad by Susie Orman has that also. Some people call her Susie Moron because of it. Also, we have, this is just satire, folks. She's a lovely woman. Dave Ramsey, lovely guy. But the point is, people take, even me, right? I don't want you to take what I say is gospel for your life. You need to get a plan. That's why we'll give you a free 27-point ultimate financial game plan if you call us at 888-988-JOSH. We'll be back after these messages.
Maybe it seems like prices can't get much higher, or that the stock market is headed for bear territory, or maybe you're worried about another great recession. Josh Jalinski, the financial quarterback, can help you protect your family's financial future in times like these. Tune in this weekend to the Financial Quarterback to hear how Josh and his team can help you decrease your tax liability and lower your risk. Call 888-988-5674 to take advantage of Josh's 27-point plan to achieve financial health. And when you call, you'll receive a free copy of Josh's book, Retirement Reality Check. Tune in every weekend to the Financial Quarterback and call 888-988-5674 to receive your free copy of Retirement Reality Check. Tune in to the Financial Quarterback Josh Jalinski this weekend and learn how to protect your financial future in a down economy. Josh and his team at the Jalinski Advisory Group can help you lower your taxes and lower your risk in these uncertain times with a 27-point checklist designed to improve your financial health. Whether you're worried about runaway prices, fear of an upcoming recession, or a stock market meltdown, tune in to the Financial Quarterback and count on Josh Jalinski to call the play. For a free copy of Josh's book, The Retirement Reality Check, call 888-988-5674. That's 888-988-5674. Or visit Jalinski.org. That's JALINSKI.org.
Hey, another title for this show could be Soy, Man, Memories, and Your Money, The Great Reset. But, we're just having fun, right? So give us a call, folks, 800-321-0710. If you have questions on stocks, bonds, annuities, mutual funds, whatever question you want to ask, we are live now on Clubhouse, taking your call, talking about the Great Reset and your money. We're in trouble, folks. We got inflation. China's in deep trouble. Europe is a mess. Mario Draghi presided over the ECB during the Eurozone crisis and became famous throughout the world for saying that he would be prepared to do whatever it takes to prevent the euro from falling. He failed as a prime minister of Italy. A new far-right leader is likely to win September 25th election. Inflation is high in the U.S. and even higher in Europe. And what are we doing about it? Nothing. Absolutely nothing. So Merkel closed all the nuclear energy plants and shook hands with a mafia leader just before she left. So you can't make this stuff up, folks. This is straight out of the Bible, by the way, if you read the Bible. But think about this. Merkel closes all of the nuclear plants. Now what's happening? Energy prices going through the roof. Did you know this? Jim, PSE&G just announced this week 24% gas hikes. New Jersey Natural Resources announcing 18 to 20% gas hikes. How are people going to afford this? That's why inflation is a tax on the dumb and the poor and the middle class who vote giveaways for themselves. Think Inflation Reduction Act. What I love about this, though, I'll tell you another silver lining. We've had mass formation psychosis, or there's that phenomenon where it's really groupthink gone mad. Like people are just, they realize, well, how could Hitler have gained power? You know, they've done these psychological studies of how could these evil men, Mao, Stalin, how could they have continued to gain power? And they found that it's basically groupthink. People don't want to be unpopular. People don't want to be unliked. So they have this mass formation psychosis, and it's happening in the US with inflation. So people, if you go to universities, they say, you know what, the government can just print money endlessly to solve their problems. This inflation, I'll tell you the good news. We have a whole generation of youngsters, your kids, Jim, who've never experienced double-digit inflation, never experienced interest rates. And now they might know, you know what, this is why we want a balanced budget. This is why we want fiscal restraint. And we've had for years, both Democrats and Republicans spend us down a river. And I'm very saddened for what we're going to go through as a country. But maybe people will start to care about fiscal restraint and balanced budget. It's because this mass inflation is the consequence of government intervention. So think about this. Merkel closes nuclear plants just before the Russia-Ukraine war breaks out, year before. So what happens? Energy prices sky because Europe needs that gas from Russia. Where if we were energy independent, which means we have solar, we have wind, we have geothermal, but that's not going to solve the problem. You need nuclear, you need gas, you need coal, you need sort of an all of the above approach. So we'll take your calls if you have questions on your money, 800-321-0710. We're talking about soy and your money, the Great Reset. Are we entering it? I don't know. It looks like it. But here's the thing, maybe people are waking up, but I don't know. Jim didn't know about the New Jersey Board of Public Utilities increase. Sorry, Jim. That's because you all are too busy working hard for your companies, like Jim. You don't have time to wake up and say, you know what, my gas is up 24%. That is a consequence of mass, whatever that's called, that mass formation psychosis or whatever bull nonsense. People are believing that government intervention, government printing does not have consequences. And we're living through it. We are absolutely living through it. Chick-fil-A, I talked about this with my accountant the other day. Go to Chick-fil-A. Nothing against Chick-fil-A. Don't want to tick people off. Jim, his eyebrows lifted. How much is it for a Chick-fil-A? You go to Chick-fil-A. You ever look at your receipt? For a $5 chicken sandwich, now it's like $12 when you go. Five Guys burger, now like $10. So we have essentially doubled the costs of goods in the last, few years. And people said, oh, it was COVID. It was the lockdown. So that may have contributed to it. Then they said, oh, Russia-Ukraine war. But it started with mass money printing. Started with Democrats and Republicans. Started with COVID stimulus. What do you think is going to happen if you tell people they can all stay at home? You can all stay at home. You still get paid. Well, what's going to happen is you're going to have productivity decrease. And, productivity was really good for a few months. People will say, oh, productivity was great working from home. Yeah, because people were worried they wouldn't have a job and they'd be fired. So they had to work hard because their boss was minding the store. Now you're seeing productivity fall off of a cliff. So folks, give us a call. If you have questions on Clubhouse, type it in the chat box. We're going to be talking about IRA rules for those of you who have special needs children. The Secure Act changed things. And because of COVID, people have been kind of asleep on the Secure Act. The Secure Act rewrote the rules on the IRA. And I always get this one listener who says it isn't a forced spend down. Yes, it is. If you have $1 million in an IRA and you die, the government, and I was talking to people this week who have a TDA, that's a tax deferred annuity with the city of New York that issues like a 7% fixed rate. Wouldn't you love to have that? But if you have an IRA, essentially you have to spend it down over 10 years. You have to have forced withdrawals. That will go on your tax return, and then you will pay more in taxes. So let's say you're a resident of New York, New Jersey, Florida, wherever you are from. But I'll use a state with a, 10% state income tax as a guide. So let's say you have to have $1 million in an IRA and you die with that, and you have one heir. That heir has to take out that whole million by the 10th year, the end of the 10th year after your demise. That goes on their tax return, and that's called the MITE, the Massive Income Tax Acceleration. So if you have an IRA, you really have a tax lien on you. Now, I'm not against the IRA. It's a great way to build wealth, but you do have to have a tax plan. So we'll talk about that when we return from our last break of the hour. This is Josh Jalinski, the financial quarterback. Don't touch that dial.
Maybe it seems like prices can't get much higher, or that the stock market is headed for bear territory, or maybe you're worried about another great recession. Josh Jalinski, the financial quarterback, can help you protect your family's financial future in times like these. Tune in this weekend to the Financial Quarterback to hear how Josh and his team can help you decrease your tax liability and lower your risk. Call 888-988-5674 to take advantage of Josh's 27-point plan to achieve financial health. And when you call, you'll receive a free copy of Josh's book, Retirement Reality Check. Tune in every weekend to the Financial Quarterback and call 888-988-5674 to receive your free copy of Retirement Reality Check.
So we're here for you. If you have to ask a question, call us 800-321-0710. We have Gordon. Gordon, go ahead. You're on with Josh Jalinski, the financial quarterback.
Yes, Josh. I understand that interest rates on immediate annuities normally go up every year as you get older. But are interest rates on immediate annuities also being accelerated by the same factors that are pushing rates on fixed annuities higher?
Sure, but I don't really like immediate annuities because when you die, the money goes to the insurance company. I'd rather you be in a fixed annuity that goes to your heirs when you die. Now, you can do what's called a joint life. So if you're married, they could get the exact same check you're getting. You could do a life with a cash refund option so they get whatever is left over, but that's without interest. So I generally am not a fan of immediate annuities. But fixed annuities, fixed index annuities are paying better rates, best rates they've paid in 10 years because we have very high interest rates. So if you believe that the Fed's going to crash the economy and rates are going to be low in a year, you may want to lock in some of the best fixed rates of your lifetime. I think they're not going to be able to sustain this. They're going to listen to Larry Summers for another month or two. Then they're going to realize the S&P's 3450, 3,000, Mayday, Mayday, and then they'll say, boom, we got to lower rates. I'm getting reports, Silicon Valley real estate crashing, Honolulu, Hawaii real estate crashing. Now, maybe a slowdown, maybe a softening, but what happened? Again, COVID lockdowns inspired people to buy that beach house in Hawaii. Now people got to get back to work. They're losing their job in Silicon Valley. Mergers and acquisitions are drying up because there's no cheap money. But yeah, I'm assuming immediate annuities have higher rates, but we could certainly shop that for you. We have an annuity shopping service if you want that at 888-988-JOSH. Any other questions on that?
Not about that. I do have another question, but...
Can you call second hour? I got Rick. I'm going to go to Rick, then I'm going to go back to you, Gordon, at the second hour, okay?
Okay, should I? Thank you very much.
Next up, we got Rick, who has a comment on the Impossible Burger, which sucks. Go ahead, Rick.
Yes, I have two comments. First of all, I appreciate all the common sense you've made in the last hour talking about the political, world. Okay, so with the Impossible Burger, it is a manufactured product. People don't realize it's not a natural product. As you said, grass-fed meat, grass-fed butter, better way to go, even though it's saturated fat, but it's healthy omega-3 fatty acids. My question to you regarding investing is that a major brokerage firm, I won't mention the name unless you want me to.
No, please.
I recently bought money market funds. I was hesitant to put money into one. One is more government invested, 80%. The other one is repurchase agreements, CDs. Is that safe? They're both earning about 2.10%, 2.25%. Is the non-government money market fund, would you consider that low risk as a brokerage firm has advertised?
I mean, there could be a risk. Why don't you just buy 2-year treasuries? You know, they're paying like 3.77 right now.
I don't want to lock in the money that long, and the difference between...
I mean, they're a money market. You get money markets that are backed by the FDIC. I mean, generally speaking, when we ask a Fidelity or a Schwab or whatever, they give you a brochure on why it's safe. But unless it's FDIC insured, you have some risks there that you have to be careful with. But most, I mean, I would rather go with the government money market fund, theoretically, than the other. But
So the repurchase agreements and CDs you're not so concerned with as being higher risk. They said the net asset value has never dropped below 1.
They say that, but until there's a crisis, right? I'd be careful. I'd be careful of that stuff. I mean, you could get good FDIC insured money market rates. Right now, you could get good 2-year treasury rates, good 1-year treasury rates. Obviously, some people need money markets in a brokerage, right? Because you want money available for liquidity purposes. So that's really the intent of those brokerage money market products. And we can analyze them. We have contacts at the biggest brokerage houses. We can analyze each of your money funds to see how they would hold up in a broader crash a la '08 if we have one. Give us a call, 888-988-JOSH.
WOR and WAXQ HD2 New York, an iHeart radio station. Available everywhere on our free iHeartRadio app. #1 for music, radio, and podcasts.
There's no one more connected on the radio. That's why he's Mr. New York. Mark Simone, weekdays 10 to noon on the Voice of New York. 710 WOR.
An iHeart radio station.
It is 67 degrees at 10 o'clock. Good morning. I'm Paul DeCastro. A 13-year-old girl is critical after accidentally shooting herself in the head in New Jersey. Police officers responded to a home on Schley Street in Newark around 11:30 last night. The teen was taken to University Hospital where she is said to be in critical condition. Police say it was an accidental shooting, and they are investigating how the girl got the gun. London is spending this weekend preparing for Queen Elizabeth's funeral, which is set for Monday.
Military personnel have begun rehearsing for the Queen's funeral while her lying in state continues for a third day. Representatives from the Commonwealth realms have been invited to pay respects. In the evening, the Queen's 8 grandchildren will stand vigil around her coffin as King Charles and his siblings did Friday night. The queue of people waiting hours to pay respects stretches for miles.
ABC's Aaron Katursky reporting thousands of mourners are lining up to pay their respects. Authorities warn it could be a 16-hour wait today to see the Queen's coffin. Police are arresting the man they say is responsible for a murder last Saturday in Queens.
24-year-old Obrian Hernandez was arrested Friday. Last Saturday, just before 2 p.m., police found 46-year-old Jamal Ortiz shot in the torso at 108th Street and Horace Harding Parkway. He died on Monday. Hernandez now faces murder and weapons charges. Andrew Whitman, WOR News.
A pep rally was held yesterday in Times Square to celebrate the HBCU
WOR.
New York Football Classic to be played today at MetLife Stadium. Lisa G. has more.
The football teams of Howard University, based in Washington, D.C., and Morehouse College, based in Atlanta, Georgia, will be playing one another at the stadium. The game and Friday's pep rally are being held in New York City for a variety of reasons, including having thousands of alumni being able to attend and also to introduce the schools to students who might not be able to travel down south. I'm Lisa G., WOR News.
In sports, the Yankees lost to the Brewers 7-6. Aaron Judge kept in the yard, so he remains at 57 home runs on the season. Yanks and Brew Crew meet again tonight. The Mets and Pirates will meet tonight as the Mets beat the Bucks for the second day in a row, 4-3 the final, but the Braves won. so the Mets remain one game ahead of the defending champs.
Here's your WOR Weather Channel forecast. Temperatures will run close to average today before warmer weather into Sunday and Monday, up to 75 with sunshine this afternoon, and then a clear sky tonight with a low down to 65. Sunny and warmer tomorrow to wrap up the weekend with a high to 86. Thunderstorms may develop during the afternoon on Monday as the high climbs into the upper 80s. I'm meteorologist Jeff Marr.
Our next news at 11. Start your day with Len Berman and Michael Rito in the morning, 6 till 10 weekdays. I'm Paul DeCastro on 710 WOR, an NBC News radio station.
Tired of losing money in the stock market roller coaster? Frustrated with the government taxing you into oblivion? Worried about inflation? How do you prepare for so many financial uncertainties? Welcome to the show that will help you develop your game plan. The Financial Quarterback with Josh Jalinski. Josh is a noted financial advisor and president of the Jalinski Advisory Group, and he's here to answer your questions. Call into the show at 800-321-0710. 800-321-0710. Now, let's kick off your financial future. Here's Josh Jalinski.
Okay, we're back. Somebody said, Josh, I sound extremely angry. You know, I don't know, Jim, maybe you can make my voice sound smoother. Maybe it sounds more strident. Tom can fix that, make me sound smoother like butter. Apparently, my voice is shot. So they've done studies that if you have a hoarse voice, people think you're yelling at them more. Like, what am I doing? Sam, but I'm really not angry. It's kind of having fun. Now, we got comments from our listeners. June says, you're my usual Saturday morning routine. Wow, you're on a roll this morning, and I'm loving it. It needs to be said, and it might as well be you. I agree with everything you've said this morning, but you need to keep reminding the public about the damaging effects of wind turbines destroying sea life, and they're destroying tourism. Who the heck wants to see a wind turbine or get chopped in the head with a turbine and destroying the fishing industry? We're lucky to have your voice on the airwaves. Thank you, June. Some people complain about my voice. What about China buying land almost on top of the military base in Montana? So wonderful. She says, how is my son? So my son is doing well, thank you. He's out of the hospital. And so, folks, if you have a question, chime in. We're taking your calls on all matters financial. Caught a quick look at your YouTube, and this is, I'm going to critique my wardrobe. The tie I'm wearing does not pop against your shirt. I'm guessing your tie is very light in color. No, it's something with our technical people. They're maybe colorblind, and they don't know how to set the color so the green tie stands out. The green tie matches my eyes. She says, I hope I haven't insulted you. It's constructive. Yes, June, we know. We love you. You're a dear listener friend. Next up, Gordo, you're on with Josh Jalinski, the financial quarterback.
Yes, Josh, on a completely other topic. I admit that my understanding of options trading is at best rudimentary, but I do understand that some people make money selling covered calls on their stock holdings.
Sure.
What I do not quite understand is why anybody on the other side of the trade would buy someone else's covered call. I hope you can explain that to me.
Well, yeah, that'll be another day. But when you're dealing with options, somebody's usually long a trade, meaning they want to buy something, and then someone is short the trade. When you're doing a covered call as an investor, you're doing that for income. So generally, someone is on the other side of that trade, and it makes sense. A lot of people are on other sides of various trades, buying puts, selling puts. It's a whole thing. I don't want to bore people because options is really not the topic that, Yeah. People don't get up on a Saturday morning, listen to the show for options, but there's always somebody else on the other side of the trade. So I thought of some options trades 3-4 months ago that nobody else did. And people were benefited by it. So, folks, give us a call, 800-321-0710. Somebody else says, give Larry a break. Someone is in love with Larry Summers. She says, I owe Larry Summers. While president of Harvard, he began an initiative to help low-income students be able to attend. My son thus is now a doctor and offspring of 2 blue-collar workers and grandchild of the same. Please don't disrespect. This has been, imagine if in 30 years you are referred to as such. I probably will be. I'm probably referred to such now. And right, parents do not pay college. But anyway, she finally agrees with me that college is a waste of money. But anyway, wonderful and dear listener friend. So folks, give us a call now, 888-988-JOSH, if you have questions on stocks, bonds, annuities, mutual funds. So we were talking about at the Board of Public Utilities in New Jersey gas hikes while you were asleep. They didn't send you this update. So gas is climbing. New Jersey to pay more for heating of their homes. Really, Jim, you didn't see this?
No.
So 25% increase. Who makes this stuff up? Where is Governor Murphy? Governor Murphy, save us. PSE&G monthly bills will increase by $24. This is assuming you have a $100 bill. New Jersey natural gas up 15%. Elizabethtown gas 22%. South Jersey gas 18.6%. Like I said, big government. The government doesn't care about you. Government is never a part of the solution, only part of the problem. So we have to discern. In a world with soy burgers and 25%, let me be clear because somebody said it wasn't 25, 24% gas hikes, what do you do? What do you do with your money? Well, number one, you call us at 888-988-JOSH for the 27-point ultimate financial game plan. Number two, you follow the red light, green light, yellow light approach. There are assets that are red. Those are your stocks and ETFs. Make sure your stocks, you have a percent towards insurance companies. Why? They can raise their rates with inflation. And you know, like my business insurance went up thousands. I didn't call them up and say, you know what, help me. You know, they were like, you know what, we're only raising your rate by X percent. And it seems like a scam, but you know, you're not going to cancel your insurance. You're not going to cancel your car insurance, your home insurance. So property and casualty insurance are great in this environment. Gas, energy. We fixed some of the lighting issues, June. I love your feedback now, although my tie is still not green, but it's a lot better than it was. So look for property and casualty insurance companies to own stock in. Look for energy companies that can raise their rates like certain utility companies. That's your red money. So think, is my red money an inflation hedge? Then you have your yellow money. That's the money that's sort of like the green and sort of like the red. Remember the green? That's your money markets, your treasuries, your fixed annuities, your fixed indexed annuities, your whole life. That's money that will not go down if the market goes down, but it's not going to go up that much either. But right now they're paying really solid fixed rates. So you may want to have some money in red, some money in green, and some money in yellow. Yellow is indexing. So generally an insurance company or a bank, there are index CDs, there are indexed annuities, there are indexed life products. Now, mind you, I'm against a lot of high fee annuities, but there are annuities that you can buy that have zero internal charges and only have a charge if you take more than 10% out. So you can buy no-load annuities, just like you buy a no-load mutual fund. There are good ETFs or bad ones. There are good annuities or bad annuities. The yellow money is a strategy called indexing. So they take options, like you give your money to an insurance company, they buy options, long call options on the S&P. They take the bulk of your money, buy treasuries with it. If the market crashes, the options expire worthless, you get your money back. So if you put in $100,000, the market goes down 10%, you still have the original 100. But if the market goes up, they cap your gains. Current caps are right now around 9%. So if the market's up 20 on the S&P, you'd make 9. Now, a lot of our people are retired. They're living on a fixed income. They can't afford a big dent in the stock market. So they look to those. Now, I like the green, yellow, red rubric. Why? Everybody runs through a red light every now and again. No, I'm kidding. So we all stop at stoplights. We know red, yellow, green. Although I always forget the order. What is the order of a stoplight? Red on top, yellow in the middle, green on the bottom. So think about that. You have some money for red, some money for yellow, some money for green. That will save you a world of hurt as volatility is increasing due to rampant inflation. So give us a call, 800-321-0710. If you have a question, give us a question. Now, 800-321-0710. If you have questions on stocks, bonds, annuities, mutual funds, we are live on Clubhouse taking your calls on all matters financial. So energy bills are increasing. What are you doing about it? I'm thinking, you know what? I want some of my money and some of my investors' money in those companies that have the ability to raise rates when people are going to be cutting their purse strings. They're going to be living on a budget. They're going to be going back to the envelope method. So we talked red light, yellow light, green light as a way for you to understand not all of your money has to be in the stock market. Maybe you want 60% of the market and 40% in green assets, or 20% in yellow, 20% in green, 60% in red. If you call me right now at 888-988-JOSH, I will score your portfolio for free, no charge, 888-988-JOSH, using the red, yellow, green approach. And I'll talk more about my issue with financial peace and how I've seen in some people of late how it causes financial heartache. This is Josh Jalinski, the financial quarterback. Don't touch that dial.
Maybe it seems like prices can't get much higher, or that the stock market is headed for bear territory, or maybe you're worried about another great recession. Josh Jalinski, the financial quarterback, can help you protect your family's financial future in times like these. Tune in this weekend to the Financial Quarterback to hear how Josh and his team can help you decrease your tax liability and lower your risk. Call 888-988-5674 to take advantage of Josh's 27-point plan to achieve financial health. And when you call, you'll receive a free copy of Josh's book, Retirement Reality Check. Tune in every weekend to the Financial Quarterback and call 888-988-5674 to receive your free copy of Retirement Reality Check. Tune in to the Financial Quarterback Josh Jalinski this weekend and learn how to protect your financial future in a down economy. Josh and his team at the Jalinski Advisory Group can help you lower your taxes and lower your risk in these uncertain times with a 27-point checklist designed to improve your financial health. Whether you're worried about runaway prices, fear of an upcoming recession, or a stock market meltdown, tune in to the Financial Quarterback and count on Josh Jalinski to call the play. For a free copy of Josh's book, The Retirement Reality Check, call 888-988-5674. That's 888-988-5674. Or visit Jalinski.org. That's JALINSKI.org.
Taking your calls, 800-321-0710. if you have stocks, bonds, annuities, mutual funds, and do you want me to do, Raphael, do you want me to do the 29 multi-point inspection, the 27 point? I'll give you that now. That would be a great segment of the radio show. Say if you want that. Do you guys want to hear the 27 point inspection that we go through with people? I do want to talk about very sad news. Found out a friend had cancer. But what's worse is at one time, and the friend is dying of cancer. And that is the worst news one could get. However, what angered me is that some years prior, they listened to the talking heads that said, you know what? Whole life is a ripoff. Life insurance is a ripoff. Now, yes, before I get people to say, you know what? Dave Ramsey preaches term insurance. Yes, he preaches term insurance. I love term insurance. If you are poor, if you're living paycheck to paycheck, if you're middle class, and you don't have extra money to spare to buy permanent policy, buy a 20-year term life insurance policy that is convertible to whole. Now, you have to make sure the conversion period is the entire 20 years. But I've talked to 2 people this week whose term policies expired and then they got cancer. And I found out, they both went through these financial peace courses that are propagated in communities of faith. And you know what? It's sad, but it didn't have to be, right, Jim? I go to church, I love the Lord, but the sad thing is, part of whatever the 12-step program is, cancel your whole life by term. But what happens when the term expires and nobody wants to insure you anymore because you had a heart attack, you had a stroke, you had cancer? That's why I'm an advocate of permanent insurance, because the average person, I remember my dad, he had a heart attack at 40. He would have loved to give us $100,000 in life insurance. Would have made him feel proud. It would have been something he could have left to his kids. But you know what? Somebody at church told him to cancel it. And my dad's no dummy, but he did the analysis and they said, okay, if you took that money and you invested in a Vanguard no-load index mutual fund, you'll have more money after 20 years. But the 20 years didn't happen because he had a heart attack at 41. So you have to make sure, yes, you have term insurance that lasts for 20 years, but make sure it is convertible to whole and convert it when you're younger because it's cheaper. And then you have to look at disability insurance because more people get disabled prior to 70 in their lifetime than die early. 1 out of 3 of you will be disabled at some point in your working career. So disability insurance is a part of our 27-point checklist. Life insurance is a part of the 27-point. And if you go, you know what, I got a couple $1,000,000, I don't need life insurance. Good. Congratulations. You won the game. I'm not speaking to the people who've won the financial game all the time. Now, I will tell you, if you are very wealthy, you do need life insurance to cover the estate tax. If you're significantly wealthy, you'd want life insurance because life insurance and Roths are some of the only things that pass income tax-free and avoid probate. So as a part of our 27-point checklist, we go through disability insurance. We go through life insurance. We go through trusts. Got a lot of people listening. We love Bitcoin. I'm a Bitcoiner. Here's the thing. How are trusts? Meaning if you want to hodl your assets long term, you know what the number one enemy to your wealth is, Jim?
No.
It's your kids. Number 1 is your spouse. Number 2 is your kids. Or number 1 is your kids. Number 2 is your spouse. I love spending money on my kids. There's nothing wrong with that. But in recent times, maybe it's due to COVID, maybe it's doing a lot of, I've been meeting with kids of adult children who want their hands on the parents' money. Now you might say, well, not my Johnny. Johnny's a good boy. Johnny, he went to Harvard. He went to Harvard and he's a doctor now. But you know what? Johnny didn't save like you did. Johnny spent all of his money, bought a nice car, bought a nice vacation home, doesn't have enough saved for retirement. And who's his retirement plan? You guessed it, you, and the inheritance you're leaving him. Now, you love Johnny, but you also love his 2 kids. You love your grandkids, and you want some money to go to them. But Johnny wouldn't have anything to do with it. So, folks, when you leave your money a quarter, if you have 4 kids, I have 7 kids, the seventh. That is the wrong way to leave money to heirs, whether it's children or adult children or grandchildren. Consider trusts. And you might say, I don't have the money for an attorney to do a trust. Then yet, do it a quarter, whatever. I'm not, you got to realize people always look for the one exception. But consider trust. That's also part of our 27-point checklist. Consider Roths. And next up, we're going to Ray. Ray, you're on with Josh Jalinski, the financial quarterback. Ray, go ahead.
Hello, Josh.
Hello, Ray.
Hey, Josh. First, I'm very happy to hear your son's out of the hospital.
Thank the Lord, yep.
Yeah, that was good news. Josh, my question is about annuities. About a year ago, it seemed like all the financial guys were talking about variable annuities, and I noticed that week after week you talk about fixed annuities. Did something sour with the variable annuities?
I never liked variable annuities. The only time I like variable annuities, if you have a very wealthy person who has a trust, and the trust is trying to avoid. So if you have a trust, right, and this is a really great tip if you have a lot of money and you don't want to pay taxes on money you're not spending. That is a big financial tip that most people, except for Warren Buffett, do not follow. So let's assume you have a stock that pays a 5% dividend, like a Verizon utility type stock, and you have $10 million in that trust. And I know that's not many people, but even if you had 100,000, that's $5,000. That interest that you earn every year, that dividend goes on your tax return. If they're paying that dividend to you, boom, 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 okay. Like clockwork. If you, in that trust, had Berkshire Hathaway instead, you don't pay that tax every year on money you're not spending. You only pay the tax when you go to sell it. Now, trust taxation is very complicated, so I'm oversimplifying it. But generally speaking, the only time I like variable annuities, I liked variable annuities some years ago when they had income guarantees. So you put $1 million in, they would give you $50,000 a year for life. Plus, if you died, there'd be $1 million death benefit. Those were really cool. They don't really exist the same way. So I've been sour on variable annuities for years because of the high internal fees. However, I'm not sour on all variable annuities because it depends on when you bought it, depends on the death benefit, depends on your health, depends on the income guarantee. Again, you don't want to cancel it. Just like if you really love Dave Ramsey, don't cancel your whole life until you get term life that is convertible to whole that's going to last for 20 years because you might get cancer and then nobody's going to give you insurance. It's the same thing with a variable annuity. There may be some benefit that I'm not cognizant of, so call us for the variable annuity review. But generally, I'm not a big fan of them unless it is owned within a trust. We get people come to us, they have a trust. Let's say you have $10 million in a trust or $1 million in a trust. Let's say $1 million. $1 million kicks off $50,000 in dividend income. That's taxable. And sometimes with complex trust tax rules, that could be taxed at the highest bracket. Whereas if you own that same stock with an investment-only variable annuity, so the one I like is called an IOVA. The IOVA is like buying an index fund in that there is as low a fee as possible. So it might be like 0.1% or 0.2 or 0.05 or some are as low as $20 a month. So if you have a significant trust, that's where a variable annuity, but I've never been like that into variable annuities for the last, 6 years. Now, there was a time when you couldn't find a fixed or a fixed indexed that gave the same income. So like 5-6 years ago, there were some really good ones, 7 years ago. Now, I don't really see the point in them because you get market risk, you get high fees, unless it's the IOVA. If you're doing an annuity, a fixed annuity pays you like 4.4 for 7 years, 3% for 2, 4% for 5. So I generally like fixed or fixed indexed, not variable, not immediate, because immediate is the one where when you die, it goes to the insurance company. The ones I like, when you die, the money goes to your kids, bypasses probate. Does that make sense?
Do all the fixed annuities go to your beneficiaries?
Yes, yeah. Directly bypassing probate.
Good.
And that's like a trust. So a trust is very beneficial, but maybe you can't afford an attorney. The poor man or poor woman's alternative to a trust is something called a transferable on death designation or a beneficiary designation found on a life insurance policy, found on an IOVA. Also, if you have significant assets and you don't want your heirs to pay tax on them, an IOVA could make sense because you can still do the stretch. The stretch IRA has been banned, but the non-qualified stretch option has not been banned by the Secure Act. I'm one of the few people that talked about that. So also with adult disabled children, we have a lot of people, their kid has autism, their kid has Asperger's, their kid, and it could be your kid has a substance abuse issue. Kid has a special needs trust. Some, if your adult child is considered disabled, they can still get the stretch IRA. Mind you, the stretch IRA, and this is why I critique both the left and the right, the stretch was ended by a Republican president. The stretch was one of the greatest middle class tax benefits in that you could have money and your heirs would be able to. You literally could leave money, Jim, to your 8-year-old granddaughter when you're 80. And that grandchild could defer that tax for 88 years. You can do that in an IOVA. You can't do that in an IRA anymore. Unless, if they are an adult disabled child, you can still do that. So stretch IRA, it has been altered significantly. Some people say it's banned. It's banned with an asterisk. There are some cases where you can still stretch the IRA. So if you want help with that, call me, 888-988-JOSH. So what do you do when the future is so uncertain? We talked about the global reset, the uncertainty in the stock market. We're looking, I'm looking for S&P 3650. If we hold at 3650, I'm bullish. If we fall below 3650, here comes 3450, here comes 3000. And you heard it here first. We had David Ranson on a few months ago. People laughed at him. He said inflation would be persistent, interest rates would remain high, and the stock market would crater. And the bulls trashed him, and he was right. We had John Najarian who said he thought the ultimate low would be 3450. He may be proven right. Stan Harley, chief market strategist, thinks we could go lower from now to about October the 6th. I don't know what's going to happen. Nobody knows the exact future. But what you can do is prepare. And I'm going to give you a simple acronym to prepare. It's called PSNG, Protect, Save, Grow. When we return, this is Josh Jalinski, the financial quarterback. Don't touch that dial.
Maybe it seems like prices can't get much higher, or that the stock market is headed for bear territory, or maybe you're worried about another great recession. Josh Jalinski, the financial quarterback, can help you protect your family's financial future in times like these. Tune in this weekend to the Financial Quarterback to hear how Josh and his team can help you decrease your tax liability and lower your risk. Call 888-988-5674 to take advantage of Josh's 27-point plan to achieve financial health. And when you call, you'll receive a free copy of Josh's book, Retirement Reality Check. Tune in every weekend to the Financial Quarterback and call 888-988-5674 to receive your free copy of Retirement Reality Check.
Daniel Trush was just 12 years old when a brain aneurysm rupture changed the course of his entire life. I went into a coma. I was in a coma for 30 days, and I was in the hospital and rehab for a total of 341 days. So Daniel is now 38 and lives in New York, but equipped with a smile who's counting. Optimizing Roth IRA conversions can be advantageous for you, but critical for your child, especially since that would allow parents to enable a disabled beneficiary to get tax-free distributions for life. Many of you with adult disabled children get a special needs trust, and that's great, but there's a lot more you can do from a tax planning perspective with Roths, with stretches. This from a CNBC article, How to Financially Plan for Disabled Loved Ones' Future Care. It was during his rehab that Daniel and his family found a connection with others through music. He's the co-founder of Daniel's Music Foundation, a program that provides free music programs for people with disabilities. I'll talk more about Daniel and adult disabled kids, but first, we are going to Marcella. Go ahead. You're on with Josh Jalinski, the Financial Quarterback.
Hi, Josh. How are you?
Great. Thanks for the call.
I get some great information listening to you, and I appreciate that. Thank you. My question is, my mom years ago had got I guess it was a term, she wasn't really sure at the time what it was, life insurance. And it was really only for like $7,000. And she thought at the time, that's what a funeral cost. This is way back. She's 91 now.
Sure.
She called them. If she doesn't continue paying, she loses it. So she wants to go to the funeral home and get her everything together. And then she's asking them if they could then, pay them so that she doesn't have to keep paying. I mean, she could live. She's in pretty good health. She said she had no idea that this was, the situation. She had great life insurance when she left her company. She worked for UPS, and then she had a car accident and couldn't continue it. So I guess my question is there anything she can do? She's still paying this $56 a month, and it's over the amount of what she would get. And, I just don't know how to advise her at this point. I don't want to see her keep paying, but then she'll lose the money if she doesn't. Is this a situation that can be changed, or is she just, unfortunately, this is what it is? I don't know.
I don't know, and that's one of these things, and that's why I find talking heads who are anti-permanent life insurance so egregious, because I don't know what type of permanent policy. Is it a term, or is it guaranteed UL? Do you know what type it is, or no?
Yeah, I'm not really sure. I know it was through ARP. That's what I know.
Yeah, even worse.
Is all I know.
They really protect the seniors now. Generally, ARP and other institutions are now more glorified advertising shops. So they're paid by the insurance company to usually promote an inferior product. So if you're buying long-term life insurance, you generally want to buy permanent life from a dividend-paying mutual participating company. I doubt that's what you have, because if you really had that, there'd be enough cash in that policy to pay the premium or to offset. So you probably have some group universal or what's called non-participating whole life. Non-participating whole life can be a ripoff. Term, it may be term, it may be group universal. But before you cancel it, because I got news for you, the funeral parlor will generally, they'll take your money, but they're not going to pay a premium. They may, if you, I guess, sign some trust over to them or sign the death benefit over to them. But my hunch is no, but maybe they'll do it. There are burial trusts that we could help you with where people will, you're allowed to do a burial trust. A lot of the funeral parlors now are glorified used car sales lots. No offense if you're a funeral parlor owner, but they'll say, oh, we have this burial trust program approved with the state of New Jersey, state of Illinois, whatever state you're from. And you go, oh, well, that sounds great, but I bought this life insurance to pay that. I got news for you. I negotiated my mother's funeral and father's funeral days after they died. We got half price. We waited a couple days, and it was whatever, 5 to 10 grand. It was a beautiful service, and I feel like my father's was cheaper than my mother's. I think we were just so stricken with grief that I wasn't bargaining as much. I bargained with my dad's. I didn't bargain with my mother's. Same funeral parlor too. So I think it was like 5 grand once, 10 grand the other, because I had thought with my father's I was going to have to retain that. My mother and father didn't have a lot of money, but I was sort of helping my mother financially. And then just when they both died within 8 months, I was kind of just whatever, here's the 10 grand, But you can get a funeral cheaper than you think, if you shop around. It sounds horrible, but shop around. There are burial programs. There are trusts. I mean, what's the premium? Can you help her pay it, or is it small?
Her mother's there. We talked about now she wants to be, cremated, and she's asked how much it is to put in there. I mean, we're looking into it now because that's what she wants to do. The next step was, really this, and I just hated to see her keep throwing money in. I mean, look, God knows she could live another 10 years. I don't know, and I just didn't know if there were options. And unfortunately, she didn't realize, nobody told her, and, now she just kept paying. And, of course, live and learn. But I just was wondering if there was, a way out.
Well, what you would do is call our office at 888-988-JOSH. If you have a life insurance policy, you don't know if it's bad, good, indifferent. We get a lot of people who have life insurance trusts that they did years ago, and they're paying a premium, similar type thing. Call us for our life insurance audit, 888-988-JOSH. You have to call the company and request, if you don't know how to do this, we'll call with you. Call the 800 number and request an in-force policy illustration. That'll show you how much the premiums will be. Will they rise? Will the policy blow up? We've saved policies, even ones that I thought were a ripoff that I would not have done if I was with your mother 20 years ago. There's one listener I'm thinking of. The son called in. We salvaged the mother's policy because she had a universal life and the premium kept going up. But a lot of times people in their 80s and 90s, they get fed up with it and they cancel the policy. And that's exactly what the insurance company wants you to do.
They expect. Exactly. That's right. Well, that's what I said to her. I said, they don't care. If you stop, they got your money. So
well, they profit. They have no death benefit.
Yeah, of course. Right.
They profit handsomely.
And, she's one of these, she's determined, she makes sure she pays, what she has to pay. And I just feel like, now she's just paying over above what she'll actually get. So it's going nowhere. And but I will call your number. I did say I would follow up with a call. So I thank you for, explaining this to me because I had no knowledge of it. And, just want to see if there's anything I can, do to maybe change the situation or at least have, someone who, like yourself, give us the right information. So thank you.
Yeah, wonderful. Hire a fiduciary. We're there for you. 888-988-JOSH. I will review the policy for free if you schedule and keep your no obligation review. And this goes for anybody who's listening. You went to some Dave Ramsey seminar at church and they told you to cancel your whole life. Do not cancel any insurance policy or annuity until you have it reviewed by a professional, and maybe even 2 professionals or 3, because a lot of people will say, okay, they want you to cancel the old so that they make a commission on the new. And if you did a policy 20, 30 years ago, you may never be able to replace that. So, and then make sure if they give you reasons for replacing it, it's documented in writing and you have an old illustration with a new one. So give us a call, 888-988-JOSH. We'd love to help you. Up next, we'll talk about adult disabled children and what you could do with them when we return. This is Josh Jalinski, the financial quarterback.
Tune in to the financial quarterback Josh Jalinski this weekend and learn how to protect your financial future in a down economy. Josh and his team at the Jalinski Advisory Group can help you lower your taxes and lower your risk in these uncertain times with a 27-point checklist designed to improve your financial health. Whether you're worried about runaway prices, fear of an upcoming recession, or a stock market meltdown, tune in to the financial quarterback and count on Josh Jalinski to call the play. For a free copy of Josh's book, The Retirement Reality Check, call 888-988-5674. That's 888-988-5674. Or visit Jalinski.org. That's JALINSKI.org. Maybe it seems like prices can't get much higher, or that the stock market is headed for bear territory, or maybe you're worried about another great recession. Josh Jalinski, the financial quarterback, can help you protect your family's financial future in times like these. Tune in this weekend to the financial quarterback to hear how Josh and his team can help you decrease your tax liability and lower your risk. Call 888-988-5674 to take advantage of Josh's 27-point plan to achieve financial health. And when you call, you'll receive a free copy of Josh's book, Retirement Reality Check. Tune in every weekend to the financial quarterback and call 888-988-5674 to receive your free copy of Retirement Reality Check.
So I've joined the ranks of coaching baseball. I will talk about coaching baseball. We have just about 13 minutes left on the show, so call me 800-321-0710 if you have a final question, or type your question in the chat box on Clubhouse or YouTube and we'll get to your question. I will talk about my exploits as an assistant head coach. Well, I'm not the head coach. I'm the number 2 guy, but it's my first time ever coaching anything. And I have a really funny story about a guy yelling at me for not putting his grandson in as pitcher. So stay tuned. So next up, we're talking about adult disabled children. So if you have a disabled child, you want to consider some of my financial tips. I do want to get a little more into this news story, but my tips would be get a special needs trust and make sure you hire a trustee who cares about your kids. I called one of these, the Center for the Disabled Children in New Jersey, and they charged a higher fee. They didn't return calls. I had a client who was very worried about their adult disabled child. So you may want to get a trustee that's a bank that you have a good relationship with, a financial institution. We deal with Fidelity Trust Departments, things like that, or a friend or family member you care about. A lot of attorneys will say, oh, you need a corporate trustee, or oh, you need the New Jersey Commission on the Disabled. No. Get people who care about your kid as much as you do. Maybe you can name that entity the successor trustee. So set up a special needs trust. Why do you do that? So they retain their benefits. You might say, my kid's not disabled. Well, if your kids have a substance abuse problem, they could be disabled. If they have a depression problem, that could be a disability. So there's a lot of things where a lot of people have issues. About 61 million adults, 1 in 4 live with a disability. Isn't that crazy? Another reason to do a trust, according to the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. A new study by Fidelity found that more than half of caregivers of loved ones with disabilities had little time to prepare before assuming the responsibility. Yet about 1/3 of those surveyed said it was easier than expected to create a plan for current and future expenses and understand government benefits that are available. Now, here's the thing. You may not have a disabled child now, but they may become disabled. So make sure you set up a trust that has the provisions to give power to the trustee to do stuff like this. Now, Daniel set up this music foundation. His parents, Ken and Nancy, are now in their 60s, have helped him reach his goals in part by planning for his financial security using a business mindset. I'm sure if you have an adult child with disabilities, you don't want them to live a less than life. You don't want them just doing base things. You want them to feel alive. And Daniel's Music Foundation does that. We work a lot with kids of our clients, adult children who have disability. And you know what? They can thrive with the right financial plan, with the right estate plan, and be able to get their benefits. But one of the most critical steps in providing for a child or a beneficiary with disabilities is applying for supplemental security income, or SSDI. You can apply online on the Social Security Administration's website. This is why you want to look at trusts, so they can still get benefits. Also, maximize your employee benefits and start looking at what government benefits are available to you in your city, in your county, and at the state or federal level. I get some people that might be listening. I talked to Josh about that. I talked about this situation with 4 or 5 clients this week. So we help clients all the time. And I'm really not probably talking about you. I'm genericizing everything. But you have to realize that this is a much more common problem. Get people say, oh, I don't want to do a trust. What if your kids get disabled later in life? My dad never thought he'd get disabled in his 40s. Benefits may include healthcare concierge services that focus on helping families care for loved ones with complex, chronic, and ongoing care needs. My firm, we provide the financial concierge services if you call us at 888-988-JOSH. That's 888-988-5674. So what can you do? Set up a targeted savings program. It's vital to secure your disabled person's financial future. Now, benefits of a health care concierge service that focus on helping families care for loved ones with complex, chronic, or ongoing care needs are multiple. In my trust, you know what I have in my trust, Jim? If I get mentally incapacitated,
I take over?
well, you know what? Bethy takes over, but you're still paid, Jim, and you can run the company. And as long as you guys, you, Jim, and Tom, and as long as you guys make her money, she doesn't have to sell it. If you guys don't make money, she sells it right away. But here's the thing. Yes, we've planned for my demise. We've planned for my incapacitation. But one thing that I wasn't talking about that Jim revealed his heart, everyone. But no, I care about my employees like family, you know. And the average small business owner, they don't do this. They don't do the planning. However, because you know what? You could say you love your wife or you love your kids or you love your employee, but if you don't do the planning, do you really? Like, I thought about this guy that I knew who went to Financial Peace University and loved his wife. And outwardly, people might say he loved his wife better than anybody that I've ever seen. But you know what? He didn't go to the right financial expert and he canceled his policy. So he might have been the greatest husband in the world, but he's going to leave his wife destitute. I don't know about you. I don't want that. So it's sad. It's heartbreaking to be with a widow and all a widow has is 10 grand to her name. That's why we save. That's why we do what we do. Or widower now, you know, to be politically correct. So give us a call, 888-988-JOSH. We would love to help you. Got a question from Jay Kem that we'll go to after we return. This is Josh Jalinski, the financial quarterback. Don't touch that dial.
Tune in to the financial quarterback Josh Jalinski this weekend and learn how to protect your financial future in a down economy. Josh and his team at the Jalinski Advisory Group can help you lower your taxes and lower your risk in these uncertain times with a 27-point checklist designed to improve your financial health. Whether you're worried about runaway prices, fear of an upcoming recession, or a stock market meltdown, tune in to the financial quarterback and count on Josh Jalinski to call the play. For a free copy of Josh's book, The Retirement Reality Check, call 888-988-5674. That's 888-988-5674. Or visit Jalinski.org.
Shelly,
That's
your comment happens more than you imagine. Because I
JALINSKI.org.
occasionally do like... Okay, real quick, we're going to go to Jay Kim and then Shelly. Shelly had a comment happen to her friend. You want to comment on that briefly, Shelly?
Oh, yeah, I just thought it was funny what you had said, that by this gentleman not planning for his wife, she'd become destitute and end up with 10 grand. And I actually have family members incredibly close to me who, when her husband died, that was literally all she got, 10 grand, which we all know doesn't go very far, doesn't pay the mortgage. And yeah, it was a really hard time for her. It actually still is.
Yeah, and the reason I want you to comment on that, I see that every day occasionally because I'm on the radio in New York, one of New York's biggest stations. They basically, and worldwide with Spotify and iHeart, I'll occasionally get people who come in and I just feel bad and I kind of do like a pro bono charity case type thing. I see that 10K story more, I see one a week. Help Ethel, help Gertrude, help Marilyn. It's tragic.
Yeah, the problem with the $10,000 for these women is, say they were at home raising the kids, the husband made enough to support them. Now they haven't worked in 10, 20, 30 years. And how are they going to provide for themselves when their spouse passes on? $10,000, I mean, that might be enough to tide them over to get a job, but what would the job they get now pay when it's this late in the game? Their skills aren't current. They haven't done anything in decades. It's just not a good place to be in.
Yeah, and they talk about the Me Too movement. I did a whole thing on the Me Too where I talked about this whole episode. Probably do it again, but man, if you're a stay-at-home mom, make sure your spouse has, permanent life insurance or significant savings. Not 10 grand. They need like $500,000, $1 million, $2 million, because it's very tough to replace an income. Okay, then we have Jay Kem. You're on final question of the hour.
Hi, yeah, good. Hello. I hope I'm not changing the subject by asking a.
No, that's fine. Go ahead, quick. We're live on New York Radio.
All right. So I have a 401k with a profit sharing plan, but I am concerned about taxes when I start taking distributions. What do you think about a 401k Roth instead?
A Roth 401k is a great option, particularly if you make too much money to do a Roth normally. You can do a profit sharing plan and you can merge it with a Roth 401k. That way you can sock away up to $20,500 if you're under 50. And then you get the catch-up provision if you were over 50. And call me on that, 888-988-JOSH. I got 2 minutes left. So I am now the head coach of some Toms River, not the head coach. I'm the assistant coach. I was a little nervous and I'm not, yelling at kids. I'm in charge of making sure kids get playing time on the bench. And then I get some Italian grandfather who goes, "Hey, why don't you put my grandson in as the pitcher?" He said, "I drove all the way from, this town to come see my grandson pitch." I'm like, "Hey, buddy, I'm not in charge of that." So I got yelled at by my first parent. I almost dodged a baseball hit to the head because I was the first base coach. I'm going to start wearing a helmet, a hard helmet, but it's a lot of fun. I've never been a assistant coach or head coach. I was a little nervous about being a head coach. I volunteered as the assistant, and it's a lot of fun. Love baseball season. It's fall ball time. My son has a double header today. So we have 3 baseball games today, a soccer game. So I'm going to enjoy my family today. I hope you to do the same. But always remember, financial planning is for the people you love and the causes you love. So call me now, 888-988-JOSH, and we'll give you our free 27-point ultimate financial game plan. And join me every Saturday and Sunday at 9. If you missed part of the episode, download it on Spotify or the iHeartRadio app or podcast, Apple iTunes.
The preceding program was sponsored by the Jalinski Advisory Group. Any awards, rankings, or recognition by unaffiliated third parties or publications, including 5-Star Wealth Manager, Advisory of the Year finalist by Senior Market Advisor, and Top of the $1 Million Roundtable, are in no way indicative of the advisor's future performance or any individual client's investment success. No award, ranking, or recognition should be construed as a current or past endorsement of Josh Jalinski or Wealth Quarterback LLC. Information regarding specific awards, rankings, or recognitions is available on the Wealth Quarterback website at jalinski.org. All investment strategies have the potential for profit or loss. Investment strategies such as asset allocation, diversification, or rebalancing do not assure or guarantee better performance and cannot eliminate the risk of investment losses. There are no guarantees that a portfolio employing these or any other strategy will outperform a portfolio that does not engage in such strategies. This broadcast should not be construed by any client or prospective client as a solicitation to effect or attempt to effect transactions in securities or the rendering of personalized investment advice. Due to various factors, including changing market conditions, the information discussed in this broadcast may no longer be reflective of current positions or recommendations. While information presented is believed to be factual and up to date, Josh Jalinski and Wealth Quarterback do not guarantee its accuracy, and it should not be regarded as a complete analysis of the subjects discussed. The tax and estate planning information discussed is general in nature, is provided for informational purposes only, and should not be construed as legal or tax advice. Listeners should consult an attorney or tax professional regarding their specific legal or tax situation. Investment advisory services offered through Wealth Quarterback LLC.
WOR and WAXQ HD.